most important methods of getting a new vineyard up and running, filling the trellis, and into full production as quickly as possible. And the number one factor in doing that is weed control. We've got to keep that row around the plant free of weeds. The number two most important factor is a combination of irrigation and nitrogen. And that will be the number one way to get that plant into production as soon as possible, within 3 years. Along with keeping the rows clean, there's different methods of doing that. One is your manual, along with your pre-emergent weed sprays, which has a relatively high expense compared to the next option that we've looked at most recently, where we will put down a row of black plastic like we use in vegetables, or the woven mulch that they use in blueberries. And with those methods, we've seen as much as 4 times the vegetative growth compared to an unirrigated, manually weed-controlled row of grapes. So that's the number one way of getting that plant into full production. But very important to that is the irrigation, and with that is the actual water quality itself. We need a good quality water sample that's showing us our pHs, our hardness, calcium, potassium, sodiums. We need those levels so that we can see what that water is doing for us. If you're watering blueberries that want a 5 or 5.5 pH soil with an 8 pH water, you're actually going to be raising that water pH. And it's the same with grapes. If you want a 6 and you're watering with a 7.2, that's going to have a negative effect. What's even more important is the bicarbonate levels. And here in this part of Michigan, we have extremely elevated bicarbonate levels because of all the calcium in the soil. And what those bicarbonates will do is it will actually lock up the nutrients that you're putting in to your irrigation system. And it's doing the same thing with your foliar sprays that you're doing with your speed sprayer. So what you have to do there is look at those water samples, look at different methods of dealing with your pH, whether it's an acidifier, a sulfuric acid, a conditioner, like we use AMS with Roundup in grapes or any weed spray. You're using that conditioner as a sacrificial lamb to bind up with the bicarbonate so that your glyphosate can do its job. So you also have to take into account the bicarbonates when you're using fungicides, insecticides, and negative effect that the water can have. So you need to buffer that. In some instances, if you can trade off and use rainwater instead in your sprays, or use buffers, or in my case, where things are so bad, we're actually using reverse osmosis systems in order to get a good clean water. And when you do that, then you have to use less of all of your inputs, because everything works so much better because you're not being tied up by the bicarbonates. So you can back off on your spreader stickers, your acidifiers. You can back off on the levels of your fungicides. Instead of using maximum rate, you can step it back and still get better efficacy by using less product. And that's how I'll pay for my RO system, is by using less product over the years. And then after about 3 years, I'll be making money. So to wrap it up, the most important things in establishing a new vineyard is weed control, irrigation, and nutrient management is right there, but you have to pay special attention to your water quality.